80%. That's the share of new caravan owners who told Australia's own consumer watchdog that something went wrong with their van. Not a fringe minority, not a few unlucky buyers having a whinge. 80 out of every 100. And of those, half reported a fault serious enough to be classed a major failure, the kind that should legally entitle you to a refund or a replacement. That's not me guessing. That's the ACT's own survey of more than 2,200 owners. And here's the part that should turn your stomach. 2 in 3 of those people had paid over 60 grand for their van. 60 grand, and an 80% chance of a problem. The dealers are still smiling. The brochures still talk about freedom and the open road. And the families who signed are sitting in driveways, watching water stains creep down the inside of a van they can't easily sell and can't afford to fix. That's the headline, but it's nowhere near the whole story. Because right now there are whole categories of caravan being sold that buyers are going to deeply regret, and the reasons run from merely annoying to genuinely ruinous. Today I'm counting down 7 types of caravan Australians are going to regret buying in 2026, from the merely disappointing to the absolutely brutal. And this isn't me having a sook about brands I don't like. It's built on the ACT's own investigation, documented owner complaints, insolvency records, and the patterns that turn up again and again in repairer workshops. By the time we get to number 1, you'll understand exactly why some of the shiniest vans on the lot are the ones experienced gray nomads quietly steer their mates away from. I'm Liam. I'm 50. No badge loyalty, nobody paying me a cent. Before we get into it, hit subscribe, because this could genuinely stop a friend or family member sinking their retirement savings into one of these. Right, let's go from bad to absolutely brutal. Coming in at number 7, the bargain basement lightweight. On paper, it looks like the perfect entry into touring. Small, light, cheap, marketed hard at couples who want to get away without towing 3 tons. The pitch is freedom on a budget. The reality is a van built down to a price, and you feel exactly where the money was saved the moment the road turns rough. The problem isn't that they fall apart instantly. It's that the cheap gear lets go one piece at a time. Thin, flimsy paneling. Subpar insulation that turns the interior into a sauna in summer and an icebox in winter, because it was never rated for what this country throws at a van. Cheap pumps and taps that fail in the first year. Cupboard latches that rattle open on corrugations and spill your gear across the floor. Suspension the experts repeatedly flag as inadequate for rough terrain. Owners report rattles, leaks, and electrical gremlins that no single repair ever quite fixes. None of it is catastrophic on its own. But add it up, and you've got a van that nickels and dimes you every trip, with a resale value that reflects exactly what the market thinks of it. If you want a cheap way in, fine, but go in with your eyes open. Stay with me, because number 4 is genuinely a safety story more buyers need to hear. Number 6. The cheap import built offshore. This one stings because the price is so tempting. These vans arrive built overseas to a generic global spec, then sell here well under the local builders. And for that saving, plenty of buyers talk themselves into ignoring the warning signs. A van built offshore to a generic spec was never designed for the specific brutality of Australian touring. Our corrugations, our heat, our distances, our dust. The insulation can't cope. The seals aren't rated for the dust, which finds its way into everything, and repairers will tell you the wiring and plumbing often gets pulled apart and redone properly. Worse, parts are a nightmare. When a fitting fails, it's often a model you can't source locally, which means weeks of waiting while your holiday van sits dead in a repair yard. The watchdog itself warns buyers to check for an Australian compliance plate and a real local service network before signing. The upfront saving is real, The long-term cost in repairs, downtime, and resale quietly swallows it whole. Number 5. The overspec'd heavy tourer that nobody can legally tow. This one catches the enthusiastic buyer, the person who wants every box ticked. Big family tourers piled with features, the second battery bank, the bigger tanks, the full off-grid kit. Magnificent in the showroom. The problem is weight, and this is exactly where the ACK raised one of its most serious red flags, finding buyers were being misled about tow weight, which it called particularly worrying given the grave safety implications. By the time the van's loaded with all that gear, plus water, plus luggage and bikes, the real-world towing weight has crept well past what a lot of family vehicles can legally and safely haul. Buyers discover, often too late, that the tow vehicle they already own isn't rated for it, or that they're sitting right on the limit with no margin. Towing overweight isn't just a fine waiting to happen. It's brakes that fade. It's sway that turns into a white-knuckle moment on a wet highway. It's a rig that doesn't stop when you need it to. Plenty of these owners end up buying a bigger tow vehicle just to use the van they already bought, turning one purchase into a two-vehicle hole. Quick favor before we hit the top 4. If this is helping you dodge a 5-figure mistake, tap the like button. The top of this list is where the genuine disasters live. On we go. Number 4. The off-road van that can't actually go off-road. This is the safety story I promised. The Act specifically flagged misrepresentation of off-road capability as a recurring complaint, with buyers told a van was off-road ready, then suffering significant structural damage on the very first trip. There's a whole category sold with aggressive styling, chunky tires, and brochures full of dusty outback photography that is, under the costume, simply not built to survive corrugations. The styling writes a check the chassis can't cash. Welds crack, and repairers point straight at poor welding done by semi-skilled hands. Chassis members flex. Water tanks shear off. Cupboards tear from the walls. In the worst cases, the body starts separating from the chassis. A structural failure hundreds of kilometers from help is genuinely dangerous. And here's the gap. Smaller makers largely self-certify against the standards, an honor system the Caravan Council of Australia has openly called completely unsatisfactory. If a van's going to live on rough roads, the chassis and suspension need to be proven, not painted to look the part. Number 3. The water ingress timber-framed van. Now the single most common way a caravan quietly destroys itself. Water. Leaking roofs and windows top nearly every complaint list, and a huge number of vans still use a timber frame behind those pretty walls. The moment the sealant on the joins cracks, and repairers say it's not if, but when, water gets in. You won't see it at first. That's what makes it so insidious. It tracks down inside the walls, soaks the timber frame, and rots it from the inside out, while the van still looks perfect from the showroom floor. Repairers and forums report the same pattern relentlessly. Water ingress through wall joins and panels delaminating within 2 or 3 years. By the time you spot the soft spot, the stain, the smell, the damage underneath is extensive and eye-wateringly expensive. The van gets partly dismantled, frame sections replaced, the whole lot resealed. On a van worth 40 or 50 grand by then, the quote can be so high the insurer writes it off. Let me put that plainly. A leak you couldn't even see can total your caravan. And the brutal part, a water-damaged van is almost impossible to sell honestly, so a percentage get quietly moved on with the damage hidden. If you take one thing from this whole video, take this. On any used van, get a moisture meter over every wall and join before you hand over a cent. Number 2. The orphaned van from a maker that vanishes. Most vans on this list at least leave you a brand to chase for warranty. Number 2 takes even that away. And this is not hypothetical. It's happening right now. In December 2025, Zone RV, a builder of $250,000 vans, collapsed into administration, owing a reported $40 million, leaving around 250 staff and a queue of customers stranded. One 75-year-old buyer had paid the balance on his $194,000 van hours before the news broke. His life savings gone. Then Network RV, owner of Vancraft, NextGen, and Victory, went under, owing about $30 million, with 129 finished vans caught in the wreck. Sunland, Phoenix, Trailers 2000, Great Aussie Caravans, Highline before them, the list keeps growing. When a builder folds, warranty claims get murky, proprietary parts become near impossible to source, repairers don't want a van they can't get bits for, and resale craters because everyone knows the brand is dead. The deeper problem is structural. Around 150 brands chase a shrinking market. The barrier to entry is famously low. An ABN, a short course, and enough cash for the first build. So a lot of operators run on wafer-thin margins. The shiny new operator offering a deal too good to be true is exactly the one most likely to leave you stranded. Back builders with a real track record, a real parts network, and the stability to still be answering the phone in 5 years. And topping the list at number 1, the premium van that's all show and no engineering. The most expensive way to get it wrong. The slick advertising, the gleaming display models under spotlights, the price tag well past $100,000. Buyers assume that money buys engineering. Too often it buys marketing. And here's the killer fact. When advocates dug into the complaints, they found the bulk involved the larger manufacturers, and many of the worst lemons were proudly wearing the industry's own accreditation badge, the one the marketing says guarantees quality. Australia's biggest builder, Jayco, was itself fined over consumer law back in 2021. The pattern is a van where the spend went into what you can see, the finishes and gadgets, not what you can't, the chassis, the waterproofing, the wiring done right. So you get a 6-figure van suffering the same water ingress, chassis flex, and electrical gremlins as one half the price, except now the depreciation is even more savage. Remember that figure? 2 and 3 owners paying over $60,000 and still copping a fault. The badge and the price tag are not the protection people think. So there they are, 7 types of caravan Australians will regret in 2026. The bargain basement lightweight, the cheap offshore import, the over-spec tourer nobody can legally tow, the fake off-roader, the timber-framed van rotting from a hidden leak, the orphaned van from a builder that vanishes, and topping it, the premium van that's all show and no engineering. My honest takeaway, and it's the same one I always give, none of these are evil, and plenty are lovely to sit in on a sunny day. The point is, a caravan is one of the biggest discretionary buys most families make, with an 80% chance of something going wrong, and the gap between a van built right and one built to dazzle is invisible until you're 1,000 kilometers from home with water in the walls. Get an independent inspection. Run a moisture meter over everything. Check the real tow weights against what your vehicle can legally pull. Back builders with a genuine track record. And know your rights, because under Australian consumer law, a major failure can entitle you to a refund or replacement even after the warranty expires, whatever the dealer tells you. Have you bought one of these and lived to tell the tale, or walked away from a deal that smelled wrong? Drop your stories in the comments, the painful ones, the near misses, all welcome. If this helped, give it a like. Hit subscribe for more straight-shooting Aussie advice, and I'll see you in the next one. Drive safe, tow within your limits, and check the frame before you check the finish.